'Tis the season of Spotify Wrapped and Apple Music Replay, so I figured I'd do my own skincare year in review. I did a kind of best of skincare video earlier in the year, so there'll probably be some overlap here, but I think it's always good to sort of touch base to see how just my routine and favorite product develop. Spoiler alert, a lot of them are the same, so I'm not sure this will be too interesting, but again, let me know in the comments if you have any questions about anything, because I won't go into too much specific detail. Of course, not a comprehensive list of every single product I use and love. It's just kind of the highlights of products that I gravitate towards and that appear very frequently in my routine. And I always like to start off these like review videos with one major thing that I've learned about my skin or my skincare journey, and probably the most significant change that I've made this year is actually introducing micellar water. So historically, I'd considered micellar water to be specifically for makeup removal or like as a skin cleanser. But I actually ended up loving it as a leave-on clarifying refining toner. So that has worked out really well for me as my skin does get a bit glitchy, bitchy at times. So micellar water has helped, just balance that out. Now, just to add on to that, using micellar water as a leave-on product won't be suitable for everyone because ultimately it is a cleanser and it does contain surfactants. But a lot of them these days are actually designed to be left on the skin. So as long as the label says that it can be left on, I have no problem doing it. So I'll just start with a quick list of my top overall brands, starting with Build Skincare. Build basically forms the entire core of my routine. So I would have no routine if I didn't have Build. It is very much the first brand that I've loved kind of top to bottom, and they've just nailed the hydrating, like basic side of skincare. So I'm obsessed. Next brand is Biologique Recherche. And I guess I would say I consider BR to be the more active part of my routine. Actually, you can probably see I'm going through a little bit of a breakout period at the moment. And I think part of that is actually because I haven't been using Lotion P50 as much. I do pause products to test other things, but ultimately when you find something that works, like Lotion P50 in my case, you've just got to stick with it. So I just started reusing it last night, and I hope like within the next couple of weeks, it'll like rebalance my skin again. And I would say that Lotion P50 is the most significant product in my routine, aside from tretinoin and sunscreen. Next up is Chanel, and easily my favorite luxury skincare brand. Just the brand that I absolutely love exploring and buying from, and I think they're like deceptively high tech. Next is Dieux Skin, specifically Deliverance. And I would say most of my overall like maintenance product or slightly more moisturizing products come from Dieux. Then there's The Ordinary, and I mainly use The Ordinary products as like skin boosters or to introduce some novel technologies that I don't want to pay too much for. Naturium is next, and a long-standing favorite brand. I actually think they do serums really well, so I use several of their antioxidant peptide products. And lastly, I'll mention Prequel. I especially enjoy Prequel products on body, but I think they have such a nice range of skin protectants that I'll use when my skin needs a bit of extra TLC. So yeah, there are definitely tons of other brands that I love that should be on this list, but these are probably the ones that I gravitate towards the most and that I'm most interested to see what they have coming next. So now I'll move on to specific categories, and we'll start with top cleansers. And this is just a top 5 cleansers from across the board. So I'll start with Build Bee Wash, and without fail, this is my morning cleanse. I just use it basically every single morning. I absolutely love it. Honestly, if I could only use one cleanser for the rest of my life, it would be Bee Wash. Next is Biologique Recherche Le VIP02, which is a fluid cream cleanser. One that I love to use in the evening as like an indulgent first cleanse. And I actually spend quite a lot of time like massaging it in. Next up is Dieux Skin Baptism. This is a plush gel texture, and I love using it as my second cleanse, usually at night. Next is the Chanel Water to Foam cleanser. I basically alternate this with the Dieux Baptism cleanser just for some textural variety. This one feels a bit lighter and fluffier. And the last one I'll mention is the Crave Beauty Makeup Rewind. I haven't used this cleanser in the last few months. It was sort of more of a favorite from the first half of the year, but I definitely do need to repurchase soon, and I still love it and highly recommend. Next up is the top exfoliating product. And as I sort of alluded to at the start of this video, I really just rely on Biologique Recherche Lotion P50 for all of my exfoliating needs. When I discovered that product, it was just such a game changer, and like it just fixed so many of my concerns. I do have a few other exfoliating products in rotation, just again for variety, but I will always come back to Lotion P50. I will mention though that for the longest time, Sunday Riley Good Genes, specifically the lactic acid version, was my top favorite exfoliator, and I do actually miss using it. It's just my skin can't really tolerate that much acid exfoliation, so it's just sort of fallen to the back burner. But I think if you're somebody that doesn't like the idea of an exfoliating toner and you maybe don't exfoliate regularly, then Good Genes from Sunday Riley is still a top pick. Next up is the top refining toners / micellar waters. I think I've discussed this in another video, but part of the reason I was attracted to micellar water is I feel like a lot of cleansers on the market these days have become so gentle, and a lot of them leave like a film behind, that it's now starting to become a little bit of an issue from like a sensorial but also layering perspective. So the part of the reason I fall into micellar waters is to actually remove the residue left over from cleansers. And you know, it's probably a good thing that cleansers are like leaving behind hydration, and maybe I'm still old school, but I still like a clean skin feeling. Even a couple of the cleansers in my favorites list, like Lay VIP O2 and Crave Rewind, they do leave behind a little bit of a conditioning residue, way less than a lot of other cleansers in the same category, but these micellar waters or refining toners just ensure that I'm getting rid of everything. Now, my love for micellar water, I think actually started with the Bully Ionized Cleansing Water 2. You know, it's quite expensive, and I was like, it's a bottle of water, like cleansing water, am I really going to buy this? But I ended up trying it because there were some really good reviews, and when I tried that, instant love. It was just so refining, clarifying, just much more than I'd ever expected. Bully hasn't made this specific list because it was probably more of a favorite from last year, but I would absolutely be open to using that again in the future. Probably my top micellar water refining toner of this year was the Kogen Do Cleansing Spa Water. This just feels like water, which I absolutely love, so no residue. It allows me to move on very quickly in my routine and was just extremely refreshing. Next is the Dafan Intral micellar water, or like soothing micellar water. This has some of Dafan's key calming extracts, so I just use this when my skin is feeling a little bit more fragile. Next is the Chanel micellar water, and this one is actually more of a recent discovery, just over the last couple months, but it has quickly become a favorite because it is super refreshing, but also is a touch more hydrating than the others on the list. So again, I just like to have a few options for the different situations. And beyond the micellar water category, I do have two just general refining toners that I've loved using. The first is Sunday Riley Pink Drink, which used to compete a little bit with SK2 Facial Treatment Essence, and I still very much love the SK2 product, which I plan to bring in again at some point. Just Sunday Riley Pink Drink has a little bit more of a noticeable refining quality. Plus it's just loaded with antioxidants and peptides, so it's kind of like using a serum in a toner mist, and I absolutely love it. I will say with Pink Drink, it does take maybe a full bottle, sort of 4 to 6 weeks until you start noticing the refinement, but I feel like everybody can benefit from it. And the last one in this category is the Ordinary Milky Toner. This features NAG instead of a direct acid, so it's just more of a slow and gentle type of refinement over time. And it comes in more of a moisturizing base, so I especially love to use this one at night. Next category is the Top Hydrators. And this is a little bit of a cheat because they're kind of like serums, but in my brain, I consider hydrating products a little bit of a separate step to like general anti-aging serums. And I guess this category comprises both serums and essences, or products that kind of toe the line of both. I very much believe in skincare layering, so I'm not a one and done person, so I just like to have light layers of several products to achieve an overall skin benefit. And I'll start with the Build Skincare B Gel. Definitely my favorite hydrating serum, but I'm biased because I was able to give a lot of my own personal feedback to get the product to the texture that I would personally enjoy. So it's just balanced so well, and it actually imparts a noticeable amount of moisture while still maintaining a very weightless quality. Absolutely love it. Will be a favorite into next year for sure. Next is Gothamista Essence, and this is a super antioxidant filled essence that has quite a plumping quality to it. It features Chinese herbal medicine ingredients and also some of the K-beauty highlights, so just a really well-rounded product. Plus I just love Gothamista so much. She's been such an inspiration to me within the whole skincare community, so it's just a no-brainer. Next is the La La Mer, the treatment lotion. I would say I use this again more so in the first half of the year than I have towards the end, just because other products have sort of come in. But I think this is one of La Mer's standout products, and the texture of this is a little bit more silky. So just when I want that specific feel, then I'll reach for this product over the others. Next is the Violette FR Boom Boom Milk. And this is my favorite, more moisturizing hydration product. It has a creamy quality that adds a level of nourishment that the others don't. And the last one I'll mention is the Starchy Pro Resilient Serum, which, as the name suggests, is more of a serum. But because the texture is so fluid, I usually use it as a first step in that kind of essence category. And this is just a boosted, like, skin calming peptide type product, so just ticks a lot of boxes. Next up is the top serums category. I have several long-standing favorite serums, so this has been particularly difficult to narrow down. I had hoped to only include 5 products in each category, but this one has blown out a little bit more, so you'll have to forgive me. First up is Dieux Deliverance, which I very much consider my daily maintenance serum. It has niacinamide, skin soothing extracts and peptides, so again just ticks a lot of the boxes of the things that I look for in regular skincare products, but it has such a nice light milky texture. It layers so well and doesn't impart any level of glow, and it doesn't have any like weird film that would sort of contradict or cause issues with other products. Next is the Sunday Riley B3 Nice, and this is probably the product that I would most use interchangeably with Deliverance. The texture is a touch more nourishing than Deliverance, and the ingredient focus is maybe more so on a comprehensive antioxidant system. Absolutely love it though, really just as much as I love Deliverance, and I usually suggest the Sunday Riley product to people that can't get Deliverance because that's US only. Next is the Naturium Vitamin C Complex, and I've been using this for like four years, something like that. It's just a super affordable, gel serum texture, really great to layer under sunscreen, and allows me to use vitamin C in a more gentle way. Next up is Poems from the Lab Future Focus. Now, if you're in the skincare community, you kind of know that retinoids and vitamin C are the 2 most recommended topical ingredients. Historically, I've had a hard time using ascorbic acid specifically, and that's why I gravitated towards the Naturium serum, because that uses like an encapsulated version. This Poems from the Lab serum uses actual true ascorbic acid in a clinically relevant percentage. So this would be the most efficacious vitamin C serum that my skin can tolerate. They've also done amazing things with stability. So this basically remains clear for months. Like I think I had mine for 8 months before it started to turn. And also it just ends up feeling a lot more gentle on the skin than other vitamin C. So I highly recommend this. Again, I think they only ship to US, Canada, and maybe Hong Kong. So getting it is a little bit difficult. But if you can get your hands on it, I highly recommend. Next up is the Naturium Multipeptide Advanced Serum. This has a little bit more of a milky texture and adds a level of moisturization to my skin that maybe the others don't as much. Plus it has just a really nice skin smoothing, plumping effect that I really enjoy. Next is the Ordinary Soothing and Barrier Support Serum, or Pink Serum as I think many of us call it. I love to use this one in the evening usually, as it gives my skin a little bit of extra cushion, and probably the most nourishing serum on the list. And I'll end with the Chanel No. 1 de Chanel Revitalizing Serum. This I focused on using towards the back half of the year, so it's actually currently in my routine as like an antioxidant boosting serum that I use in the morning. Chanel has actually done a lot of research on the concept of cellular senescence. So there's this whole idea that's being promoted or elaborated on in skincare around cell longevity, and I guess clearing out zombie cells. I'm not 100% convinced if topical products can actually have an impact on senescence, but I also just happen to love the gel texture of this and how it makes my skin feel. So at a minimum, I'm assuming I'm getting some antioxidant benefit, and then if it is helping with senescence, then that's a nice little boost. But I wouldn't necessarily spend money specifically on products targeting senescence because it's just such an unknown concept in skincare. So I would say Chanel is very much for happiness reasons as it is like coolness. Next up is top moisturizers. And of course, I need to start with Build Skincare B Cream, which is my ride or die favorite. I would happily only use B cream and nothing else. I guess I've more focused it in on the morning because it just never pills with anything, but I've absolutely used B cream at night, especially layered with bee balm, so that combination is awesome. And I just love that I can use B cream with anything and everything and it would never cause issues and just ensure my skin is really well looked after. I've spoken about it a lot, but it contains a lamellar gel network which has a really good affinity with the natural like lipid structure in the skin. So yeah, it's just a really well designed product. Next is Dieux Instant Angel. This is a little bit of a unique product that I tend to use at night because it has a kind of lightweight texture and it almost feels like a gel cream, but then it adds this level of nourishment that you don't really expect. So it has the characteristics of a heavy cream but feels light. I absolutely love using Instant Angel with a layer of bee balm on top, and that combination is like chef's kiss. Next up is the La Mer Fresh Cream. This is a relatively new release for La Mer and I think one of their top products. I would sometimes use this as an alternative to bee cream in the morning, and I'll do that mainly when I'm in a rushed routine because La Mer products are fairly loaded with antioxidants and peptides, so it's sort of like a serum in cream. Next is the Dr. Sam Bunting Flawless Moisturizer Intense. I tend to use this interchangeably with Dieux Instant Angel. The Dr. Sam product just has a little bit more of a buttery pasty texture, so it really just depends on what mood I'm in. And the last one I'll mention is the Embryolisse Lait Creme. This is a more recent favorite because I only started using it a few months ago, and it doesn't have a specific spot in my routine. It's just one that I have on hand. I'll sometimes use it in the morning, sometimes at night. I just love it because it gives me very old school skincare product vibes. They're just extremely well designed the way skincare moisturizers used to be before clean beauty ruined everything. So this is just a favorite across the board, but it has no like specific action. Next section is the top skincare boosters. I didn't know exactly where to put these products because essentially they're extra antioxidants or extra moisturizers, so they could fit in many of the other categories, but I've included them as a booster because I don't specifically use them in isolation. They're always with something else. I'll start with Build Skincare Bee Balm, which I've already mentioned several times in this video. This is basically a moisturizing gelled squalane balm, so I use it kind of like a slugging balm in place of Vaseline or Aquaphor. I pretty much use bee balm every time I'm using a retinoid, so sometimes that will be 5 times a week, sometimes 2 to 3 depending on how my routine is developing that week, but it's just always going on as the last layer on most of the nights in the week. It's just my extra halo, my extra barrier reinforcement. Next is the Ordinary Pycnogenol 5%. This is an antioxidant boosting serum, and I'm just like intrigued overall about the potential benefits of pycnogenol. So I add a few drops of this to a milky serum or moisturizer, usually in the morning, but sometimes at night. So this is very much like an actual booster that I'll mix in. I don't think The Ordinary likes me suggesting that people mix things because their recommendation is always layering. But I don't like this texture naturally, so mixing is the only way that I'm going to use it. Next up is the Biologique Recherche Serum Tool. Although this is called a serum, it's more of a face oil. And I'm not the biggest fan of face oils across the board. I do like to have a few in rotation just for an extra level of nourishment. But I feel like this BR product like truly feeds my skin. So when I use it, it's like my skin just drinks it up and just removes all signs of like dryness very quickly. Next is the Bioderma Cica Bio Creme Plus. This is the type of product that I wouldn't use regularly. It's more of like a medicine cabinet type product, and I specifically would reach for it when I need to solve like itching issues. Because I have eczema, I'm often having like little outbreaks here and there, so that's when I'll reach for this product just to ease and soothe that skin area. And also if I have a mosquito bite or something. So really anytime there's any level of itching involved, I'll reach for this. And the last product I'll mention in this category is the Chanel Le Lift Pro Mask Uniformité, or however you say it. And I'm actually surprised at how much I love this product. It's like just a gel in a tub, but I actually use it in place of most sheet masks, and I used to only use it occasionally, but now I've incorporated it much more regularly and I use it at like several times a week. It just makes my skin feel truly rejuvenated in the morning and just adds this level of hydration. Almost like, you know, when your skin feels a certain way when you're in a humid environment and it just has this natural plumpness about it. That's what this product does for me, and I absolutely love it. I do leave it on overnight even though the texture is jelly. it doesn't seem to transfer that badly on my pillow. Next category is top sunscreen. I actually hate testing sunscreen, so I'm sorry I don't really have a comprehensive list to give you. And I know that's bad for somebody on skincare social media because sunscreen is the most important step, but I just found one that works really well for me. I hate testing them because my skin is quite sensitive to sunscreen, and I just don't want to deal with the repercussions when things go wrong. So I apologize for being a failure in this area, but nearly everybody else on social media like focuses on sunscreen heavily, so I'm sure you've got a bunch of other people to listen to for this. So with that said, my top favorite sunscreen is the Everyday Mineral Mousse SPF 50+, which is a zinc oxide sunscreen. It has a little bit of translucent pigment in there, so a bit of tone correction as well. And because of the iron oxides, also helps with blue light from sun. The texture is moussey, almost a silicone-like primer feel that can feel a little bit oily upon application, but then it does set down to a soft, natural matte finish. And the best thing is it just stays consistent in terms of its finish all day. So my natural skincare oils very rarely break through unless it's a super hot day. I also apply a thin layer of a loose powder on top just to set it more. And lately I've been loving the Chanel loose powder. This combination is just exactly how I want my skin to look in the morning especially. I definitely don't want dewy skin. You can probably see in the video here, like just because I have some lights facing on me, it's probably picking up a little bit more sheen, but in real life my skin looks a lot more matte than it does on camera. Next up is the top treatments category, and probably the most significant products I use aside from sunscreen. And because I do have acne prone, breakout prone skin, these become very important as a regular rotation. First up is of course tretinoin, and I started using Tret, I'm pretty sure in 2020 at some point. I ended up preferring the 0.05% microgels, or Altrino if you can get it. And of course Tret has just made the most significant difference in my skin. You know, it's not that I never break out or anything like that. It hasn't like completely changed my skin, but it's just made it much more consistent, much more well behaved, and everything heals much quicker than it did before. Next up is Build Skincare A-Gel, which is a 1% salicylic acid serum in a plush milky gel serum texture. I especially love it as an aftershave lotion, but I also run it across my whole face a few times a week, usually just to help with pore clarity. Next is the Dr. Sam Bunting Neutralizing Gel, and this would be my favorite spot treatment. Definitely works so much better for me than pimple patches. Next is the Isis Pharma Urea Gel, which is a urea-based cleanser. Anytime I feel like my skin is going through periods of extra dehydration, I absolutely love to use this, and I kind of leave it on a little bit longer, I guess like an express mask, just to try and get some of the benefits of the urea. So I use several bottles of this. I think I have one left in backups, but I've actually found another product by La Roche-Posay that I prefer using, which is more of a leave-on gel. So I suspect the LRP product will replace this one moving forward into the new year. And last product in this treatment section is the Biologique Recherche Creme Dermopurifiant. This could have been in my top moisturizer section, but because I don't really use it as a daily moisturizer, I do reach for it in specific circumstances. And that happens when my skin is just going through periods of extra congestion. And basically when I'm feeling like a little bit blotchy and just a particular level of uneven skin tone, especially associated with redness, that's when I'll use Dermopurifiant for a couple of weeks until that clears up, and then I just have it there when I need it. Next is the top eye products category, and I'm very much a big fan of eye products and trying them out. I would say the eye area is where I'm noticing the most visible fine lines, so it's just become an area of focus for me. And that's not to say that like I'm adverse to fine lines and wrinkles, it's just, you know, if I can delay them a little bit or make my skin that little bit extra hydrated, plump in that area, just more pliable, then just delaying the onset of more deeper wrinkles is probably the goal. My first favorite is the Go-To Decrease Retinol Eye Gel. I use this on nights that I'm not using tretinoin because I just always want to have a retinoid targeting the eye contour. And this product texture I just absolutely love, and it's actually quite affordable. Next is Cypher Skincare The Anomaly, which is a small Australian brand. I was actually able to try this for a while before it was released, and now it's come out in its final packaging that has like a little metal roller ball as well. This has a really nice gel texture, and Cypher Cypher just loads their products with like every ingredient under the sun that could potentially have an action. So it targets like basically every eye area concern all in one product. I absolutely love using this in the morning because it has a little bit of a light blurring effect without relying on pigment. Next up is Super Egg Phyto Bounce. This was a huge favorite in the first half of the year especially, but then I discovered the Anomaly from Cypher, so they kind of take up similar spots in my routine. I love them both. I'm sure I'll continue using both just interchangeably moving forward. Super Egg I think works really well on tired eyes and puffiness, and it has a bit of diamond powder for like light reflection, again with no pigment. Next up is the Chanel No. 1 de Chanel Eye Serum. This is also in a similar lane to both Super Egg and Cypher because it's also that gel texture, probably most targeting tiredness and puffiness. The main difference here is that Chanel comes with a custom applicator that rolls on the eye contour, so it has almost like cryo benefits. If I'm in the mood to spend a bit of extra time just dealing with my eyes, just really when I've had like a rough day and I'm super tired, then I'll definitely choose the Chanel over the other products because it's just that little bit extra. But I would say I'd use Super Egg or Cypher for more of an express application. Next up is the Naturium Multi-Peptide Eye, and this is another long-standing favorite. The texture is a bit more paste-like and more moisturizing than the others on this list. And for example, this morning I used a Biologique Recherche eye serum, which has a very, very watery texture. So then I used the Naturium product as kind of like the occlusive layer to, lock that all in. So I don't necessarily reach for the Naturium always, but when I'm using other products on my skin that are super, super light, then I'll often reach for this. It's just an easy throw on to finish things off. And the last eye product I'll mention is Prequel Skin Utility Gel. I'm pretty sure I picked up this tip from Dr. Dre, who uses high percentage glycerin around her eye area. And this product contains a high amount of glycerin. So I basically use this as an eye mask just for a super hydrating effect. Next up is Top Lip Products. Phytosurgeon's Calm Conditions is a recent favorite that I loved using in the morning. It has a nourishing quality but still has a bit more of a soft matte finish, so not glossy at all. Next is the Chanel Hydra Beauty Lip Serum, and I kind of think this product is a little bit misunderstood. It doesn't act like a typical lip product. It is a true serum texture, so just adding a level of hydration that works back well with a more occlusive ointment or lip cream or lip oil on top. It just has this watery texture that I basically use as a booster. My main tip with this is to apply less than you think you need because it can get tacky very quickly. So just apply a tiny bit. The next three products in the lip category I apply pretty much interchangeably, so I don't have a set favorite. First is the Make Lip Reset Solar Citron, and this is like a gelled lip oil balm. It smells amazing, very tropical, and is properly nourishing and hydrating and stays on all night. Next is the Dermal Therapy Overnight Lip Repair, and I would say this is more of a lip cream texture. And last one is the Tatcha Kiss You Lip Mask, which is also more of a gel texture. And I find this one to be especially hydrating and even more effective than Vaseline. But really I love all three of those. They have very similar effect on the lip. It's just slightly different textures. And as you've seen in this video, I just like variety and options. Next up is Top Body Products. Now I wouldn't say body is a category that I care too much about, and I don't have any like die-hard favorites. These are just some good products that I've enjoyed throughout the year. First up is the Naturium The Energizer, which is their mandelic acid wash, and I actually like a lot of Naturium body products. I think they do them really well. This one just stood out because it has a refreshing quality, and I like that it has this sort of citrus kind of minty scent. I do just wish the fragrance was enhanced a little bit more because it's very, very light. Next is Prequel Cleanser, which I know some people love to use on face, and I've definitely used it on face myself. It's just Prequel Cleanser leaves behind a little bit of a hydrating film, so I ended up enjoying using that as a body wash, less so as a face cleanser, but it can definitely go both. Next is the Will & Zoe Body Cleanser, which is a small Australian indie brand. They focus on like breakouts on the body, and the texture of this reminds me a lot of shampoo, so it's super delicate and silky with a great lather, so I've loved using it. Next up is the L'Occitane Almond Shower Oil. I absolutely love the fragrance of this entire line from L'Occitane, and I just bought, I think they made a shower cream, so I haven't opened that yet, but that will be my next one to explore just because I love the scent. And last one I'll mention is the Remedy Skin Body Lotion. This is more of a recent discovery, but it shot up to my favorite super quickly. It has a little bit more of a buttery, indulgent texture than some of the other lotions I've tried this year, but it still feels light enough to not cause residue issues. Plus it has like a super outstanding blend of ingredients, including encapsulated retinol. Now we're almost at the end of the video, and just to finish off some more miscellaneous categories, I just have like set favorites here. So my top hair product was the Sacred Clarifying Shampoo. Just smells so refreshing and actually properly cleanses my scalp and hair. My top hand cream was the Prequel hand wrap. I don't use hand cream very often, but when I need it, it's because I truly need it. Usually, I've over dried my hands, so they feel a bit compromised. The way this product works is that it almost adds like a second layer or like an invisible like wrap to the skin, so it lasts through hand washing. Just a really great one. I know some people experience pilling with it, but I never have, so I don't really know how to explain why that happens. My top nail product was the one from Dieux in the pot. And look, I have absolutely no business talking about nails. I don't care about them really at all. But I bought this because I absolutely love the apricot smell. So when I apply it to my cuticles, I just get that scent, around my face whenever I move my hands. So just don't listen to me on nails. My top foot product is the Dermal Therapy Heal Magic. I love that this is in a stick format, so no mess application, and works super quickly, like overnight. And my top shaving product would be the Kiehl's Ultimate Razor Burn and Bump Relief. My neck is a huge problem area as it's super sensitive to razor burn and developing bumps, so that's just something that I deal with constantly. But this Kiehl's product is super gentle, smells amazing, and has actually been one of the more effective products I've used, so I constantly rebuy it. Next up is my top spendy splurges. I love to dabble in luxury products. I don't necessarily always think they're worth it, but this list is some of my true favorites from the year. First is the new Chanel Sublimage lotion, and the texture resembles like gelled oil droplets. I absolutely love the vanilla bean scent of Sublimage too, so just like 10 out of 10 for sensorial benefit. And this type of microfluidic technology just interests me a lot because it's both hydrating, nourishing, you get a bit of an oily feel to it, but also a gel feel. So I just love how these products feel. Next is the Sisley Black Rose Mask. I would say this is a cult favorite product, just a highly intensely moisturizing mask, and it just truly feels like I'm pampering my skin. Next is the Augustin Espada Cream Mask. I've spoken about this before and how I think people who have dry skin might not enjoy it as much because it's not intensely emollient, but I love it because there's a cooling effect and it takes the heat out of my skin when I need that. Next is the Chanel Le Lift Creme de Nuit, if that's how you say it, basically a night cream. This just has a fairly thick enveloping texture that feels quite waxy to me, and I'll use it at night whenever I want a little bit more of a luxe moisturizer, and this waxy texture is quite unique. It's, I don't come across it too often. And last one I'll mention in the spendy category is the La Mer, the Revitalizing Mask. So this is a little bit of an SOS product. I'll use it whenever my skin is feeling especially glitchy and I just need to give it a little bit of a reset. It's moisturizing but also skin calming and is able to take a lot of the redness out of my skin quite quickly. Next up is top fragrances. I've dabbled in fragrance a lot more this year than in the past, and I'm definitely no expert at how to know any of the proper phrasing, but I've loved exploring fragrance, so I figured I'd go through my favorites. My top favorite would be the Chanel Allure Homme Edition Blanc. This has a lemon meringue vibe, kind of a zingy scent, but also has a creamy and sweet roundness to it. I consider it a masterpiece if you love sort of citrusy scents at all. Next up is Celine Parade, which is still quite zingy, but it's less sweet and maybe even a bit astringent. Third one is the Louis Vuitton Imagination fragrance, which I actually had tons of samples because I bought, I think it's called Orage, which used to be a favorite, and that's a little bit more peppery and more appropriate for night, but I ended up really loving this one. It still has a refreshing quality, but also tea notes that kind of adds a bit of groundness to it. Next is a forever fave, of course, Creed Aventus. More recently, I've been using the cologne version, but I do think I prefer just the regular Aventus. it has this sort of fruity tropical DNA that's really quite special, I think, even though it's quite popular these days. And last one I'll mention is the Parfums de Marly Alter. This is more of a rich gourmand fragrance and basically reminds me of a patisserie in Paris, even though I've never been. That's just the vision, I guess. I also have just a couple of non-skincare related categories just for a bit of fun if you care. First category here is favorite famous faces, and I still enjoy the idea of celebrity. There are just some people that I find quite inspiring. You know, I'm looking forward to the projects they have coming next. I like to see what they're doing, what they're wearing, all of that stuff. So no real detail required. It's just the idea of celebrity is still fun to me. And of course, you know, I am definitely Beehive. You know, Beyonce is my number one. I've loved her for decades at this point. She's just the everything. So I don't even have words to explain beyond that, but she's just one of one, number one, the everything. I also love Rosé from Blackpink. I'm super excited that she has now a solo project out, and I've loved her new album. Margot Robbie's doing great things, and I find her very inspiring, and I've loved that she's linked up with Chanel. Jacob Elordi, top favorite. Again, I just think he has a really cool style, and I love to see what he's got going on, especially the fact that he's leaning into a lot of these luxury brands. So just aesthetically, he's doing some interesting stuff. And of course, Queen Zendaya, always can't wait to see what she's got coming next. I guess just to explain this maybe with a bit more thoughtfulness, all of the people that I've mentioned are quite heavily commercial, but I feel like they also all move with a certain level of conviction, and they do care about the art side of it, of what they're doing as well. So yes, very commercial, but it's not hollow. They're also all notoriously private. We hardly know anything about their personal lives except for, you know, random paparazzi shots that they'll catch every once in a while. And to me, that elevates their appeal. I don't care about celebrities being relatable. I don't want to know what they're doing in their day-to-day life. I just want to know what art they're bringing. I just want to know about their work, basically. And I just care about them creating epic things. And finishing off this video with a few extra kind of miscellaneous things. So my top book was The Science of Beauty from Dr. Michelle Wong. Pretty much just the best skincare guide ever. My top treat was pistachio gelati. The actual best, but only when the flavor profile is truly authentic. Like, bad pistachio gelati is really bad. It has that kind of high essence taste, which I hate. But if the gelati tastes like pistachios, like actual pistachios, especially a bit roasted, that's a 10 out of 10. And my favorite dish was cacio e pepe. There's something about the indulgent cheesiness with the bite of pepper that's so simple. I absolutely love it. And of course, my top album was Cowboy Carter. I wanted to include like top TV show and top movie, but I wouldn't say this year was great for like really either TV or movie. Nothing stood out. I'm looking forward to The White Lotus returning because I love season 1 and season 2. And I guess, you know, this has brought up a lot of discussion just internally, like in my inner monologue, about how like TV and a lot of stuff that we see is missing a lot of heart. You know, a lot of what we watch now is like very glossy, it's very violent or very overly sexualized, and it's like that those things are fine if it's within the context of, you know, something or a project having like heart behind it. You can still create juicy TV like The OC, for example, but the through line of that show was friendship and family. So when things happen to these characters, people cared. Like when Marissa died, I was devastated, and I haven't experienced that type of, you know, engagement with any TVs or movies in a really long time. You know, I miss the WB shows. I loved Gilmore Girls. Just the writing on that was so good. You know, Buffy, even the sci-fi shows like Alias, they just had so much more actual character drive to them that these days a lot of that has just fallen by the wayside. It's just all much more superficial and just clickbaity, and I'm just over it. Anyway, I didn't expect this whole segment on TV, so I might cut this out anyway, we'll see. And the very, very last thing I'll mention is just my most memorable kind of Skinstagram moment of the year. And that was the fact that I got to fly to Toronto, visit the Ordinary HQ and their manufacturing site. So this was a dream in two ways, because I got to explore all of this behind the scenes stuff, which was super cool. But I also got to spend time in Toronto, and I have such an affinity with Canada for some reason. I've never been, I don't know anybody, I don't have any family there or anything. It's just Canada's always been this kind of place that I've wanted to visit. I only got to spend a few days in Toronto, so I didn't, get an overall vibe. But it did remind me a lot of Melbourne. And I definitely would love to go back to Canada and explore more. Just maybe not in winter because of all the intense coldness and snow. Although it does get cold in Australia and it's not like hot all of the time, I'm not sure that I can handle real winter. This video has turned out to be much longer than I expected, so I'm sorry for making you sit through this if you did. Thank you for watching if you did make it all the way through. And I don't think I went into too much detail on any one product, so of course do let me know in the comments if you have any specific questions. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.